Welcome to the deep dive. We are diving into some really interesting stuff today. We're taking a closer look at two ideas from A Course in Miracles.
Lessons 127 and 128.
Yeah, which have now been kind of combined and reviewed as lesson 144.
And they're really powerful. There is no love but God's. And the world I see holds nothing that I want.
I know, right? Those are big statements. And today we're on a mission to unpack them, really understand what they mean, and how we can actually apply them in our lives. We want you to get these aha moments, but like without getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's easy to get overwhelmed.
Right. Because on the surface, they're so simple, but we're going to see why they can be so powerful. So we've got a bunch of notes here. A Course in Miracles, Lessons 127, 128 review, FAQ, Love in the Illusory World, some stuff from Daily Harmony.
And we've got lesson 144 itself from the workbook for students.
Exactly. So we're going to be looking at what these lessons are actually saying, how they connect to each other, and what that means for, how we find happiness and deal with the tough stuff in life.
Because we all deal with tough stuff.
Sure. So let's just dive right in. There is no love but God's. I mean, when you first hear that, and it's like, wait a minute, does that mean the love I feel for my family, my friends, my partner, is that not real?
It's a natural question, but the lesson isn't saying that those feelings aren't real. What it's suggesting is that all real love, all genuine love, comes from one source.
Like the ultimate source.
Exactly. The love of God. And all the love we experience in the world, you can think of it as like reflections of that one true love.
Okay, I see what you mean. But those reflections, sometimes they're clear and sometimes they get kind of, distorted.
Yes, exactly. Because in our day-to-day lives, our idea of love gets mixed up with our ego needs and expectations.
Right, like we might be looking for validation from others or feeling like we have to earn love or that it comes with conditions.
All of that. But when we recognize that God's love is the only love that's really constant and unconditional, it helps us to see through those distortions.
So it's like a reference point.
Yeah, a pure form of love against which we can measure our experiences.
Interesting. Okay, so let's move on to the second idea here. The world I see holds nothing that I want. And that one, that really challenges the way most of us think about happiness. Because we're taught that happiness comes from having things, achieving goals, being in certain relationships.
It's a very common belief. But if you think about it, the excitement of getting something new, a new gadget, a promotion, that fades. Achievements, yeah, they bring a temporary sense of satisfaction, but it doesn't last.
And relationships, sometimes if they're based on this feeling of lack, like needing someone else to complete you, those can actually be pretty unfulfilling.
Exactly. It's like we're constantly searching for something outside of ourselves to fill this void inside.
But we're looking in the wrong place.
And that's where the connection to the first lesson comes in. Those desires, they come from a sense of separation from that divine love.
Like we're trying to fill that gap with external things.
But the Course suggests that real fulfillment, true peace and contentment, comes from recognizing and connecting with that love that's already inside of us.
So these two lessons, they're not just separate ideas.
Not at all. They're two sides of the same coin. If the only truly real love is God's love, then that deep, lasting love that we crave, we're not going to find it in the material world.
So all that chasing after worldly desires, it's actually a distraction.
It takes us further away from experiencing the real deal.
So it's not about denying the world or pretending it doesn't exist.
No, it's about understanding its nature and realizing that our true source of happiness lies somewhere else.
Okay, I think this is starting to make sense. But how do we actually apply these ideas in our lives?
Well, let's make it practical. Think back to a recent time when you really wanted something. Anything. A possession, a certain outcome at work, maybe a specific kind of interaction with someone.
So it could be anything.
Now, what were you hoping that thing would give you? Like deep down, what was the need? Happiness, security, love.
Yeah. And were you aware of the love that already exists within you in that moment?
And now, think about it in light of what we've been discussing. How might the idea that there is no love but God's change how you see that situation now?
Like, for example, let's say you really wanted a new phone because you thought it would make you feel more connected and accepted. Maybe it highlights that you were looking for an external thing to give you an internal feeling of belonging.
It's a common pattern.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about relationships. How can we actually see God's love reflected in the people around us, even when it's tough, especially when their behavior isn't exactly loving?
That can be challenging, for sure, but instead of focusing on what you're getting or not getting from them, try to see the divine love that's in both of you.
So, like if a friend is being critical, you're saying, try to see past the words and recognize that maybe they're feeling insecure or lacking love themselves.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective, it takes you from judgment to recognizing your shared essence. It creates more space for compassion and understanding.
Okay, I like that. Let's try something right now. Just take a moment, close your eyes if you like, and repeat to yourself, there is no love but God's.
Just let that idea sink in and notice any resistance that comes up. Just observe it without judgment. It's interesting to see how our minds react to these kinds of statements.
Now let's go back to the second lesson. The world I see holds nothing that I want. If we truly believe that, how does it change the way we deal with everyday challenges?
Well, it helps us to see those challenges in a new light. Because if we understand that lasting fulfillment doesn't come from external outcomes, then the power of those problems starts to diminish.
So instead of seeing a setback at work as this huge disaster, we can see it as an opportunity to let go of attachment to specific outcomes and turn inward for peace.
And it can apply to anything, losing a job, for example. Instead of panicking about security, you can approach it with trust in the unfolding of a path rooted in that divine love.
So it's about shifting our source of security from the outside world to something deeper within.
Ex-
Now, I think it's important to acknowledge that this stuff isn't always easy. We're human. We have
Yeah.
emotions, attachments, and we can't just magically make them disappear.
Of course, it's a process. Recognizing the illusory nature of the world doesn't mean we can't enjoy life or care about others. It just means understanding where true fulfillment comes from.
So it's not about denying the world.
No, it's about seeing it in a new way, recognizing that worldly things are just reflections of that deeper love.
So how do we actually integrate these ideas into our daily lives?
Well, small steps, repeating the affirmations regularly. There is no love but God's. The world I see holds nothing that I want. That can be powerful. Consciously trying to see the divine love in everyone you interact with, even when it's tough.
Yeah, like a daily practice.
And when you feel that strong pull towards something external, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what am I really looking for here? What need am I trying to fulfill? And then gently redirect your focus inward.
Small steps, consistent reminders, and a shift in perspective. I
Okay.
like it.
And the reason why it's so important to review these foundational lessons, like Lesson 144, is because they keep reminding us of these core truths, that reality is rooted in love, and that separation and lack are illusions.
So it's like constantly tuning an instrument to keep it in harmony.
Exactly. It strengthens our understanding and helps us to live in alignment with these principles, which leads to more peace and clarity in our daily lives.
Well, that was a deep dive. Today we explore these two powerful ideas. That there is no love but God's love, and that true fulfillment can't be found in worldly desires.
And that by starting to understand these principles, we can shift our focus to the love that's already within us.
So here's a final thought to ponder. How does the understanding that the world doesn't hold what you truly want actually free you to experience the love that is always present?
Something to reflect on.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.